Okay, so I want to take you through what the present content of the cyberNephrology office is, 5B309, W.C. Mackenzie Health Sciences Center, then what the plans for those objects are. And so, more or less, we'll start at the extreme right as you walk in the room and go around the room from that point. And it's a video that I shot that we'll insert into this one. And I would like you to kind of think of the rich history there. So many of the trainees that I've been involved with spent long periods in that room, going back to the very earliest days of my being here. And we have records there of the kidney biopsy conference going back to 1988, which was the year after I came here as chair. And so anyway, there's a lot of stuff in that room. And so it's a really big deal, not only for me, but for the other people that we're now moving to different locations and dividing things up. So in this tour of cyberNephrology on Saturday, July 11th, I thought I'd start with one of the more obscure things in the room, which is maybe the only true valuable antique, which is this 1838 penny magazine from the Society for the Diffusion of Useful Knowledge. And, when you think of the concept of a generalist, somebody interested in many things and just general intellectual pursuits, this kind of fits that. It's certainly not medical. It's not any specific trade that it's associated with, but it is from the Society for the Diffusion of Useful Knowledge, and so that's kind of an amusing concept, and it's old enough to be valuable. So that is currently behind the Beatles' Sgt. Pepper Lonely Hearts Club Band banner here. So it's on the wall behind that. And then if we step back from this for a bit, you can see Betty Boop, life-size Betty Boop on a scooter. And then this picture, which was kind of my first exposure to medicine. This was in the cabin that our family had in Bradford, Vermont, owned by my grandparents. And my grandfather was a doctor, the only doctor in Bradford, Vermont. And I was exposed to this picture very early on, and it sort of gave me an idea that medicine could be an enjoyable profession. Then we've got the two cutouts of me and then Sheldon from Big Bang Theory. One day Michael Mengel came in here and got the idea that there should be cutouts of me, and so that's why there are. Then the wall screen, this is a website with 3-hour videos of an aquarium with clownfish. And it's one of the things that Rebecca Hugh and I like to have showing on the wall screen. It's kind of evolved. We used to have a cyberNephrology slideshow showing there, and that was there for years, So eventually we needed something else. So this elephant, that's a significant date. It says this elephant was sanitized May 21st, 2020, and that's when we celebrated Lakini Bat getting into 3 Ontario medical schools. She's going to the University of Toronto this coming fall for medical school. So that elephant was a part of that. Then Star Trek, all I need to know about life I learned from Star Trek. And so you can see those rules here. Then we've got our mini fridge, which Rebecca and I use for lunches and stuff. And then this is the workstation that Rebecca Hugh is currently using. Okay. Then if we look over here, some of the oldest practical stuff that we have here is on these shelves. So if you look at this, these are the records of kidney biopsy rounds from 1988 to 1991. So that's before the Banff classification, but right after I came here. I came here as chair in 1987, so this would be the first set of renal biopsy rounds, lists of the patients and so on from that. And then we have other similar rounds, compilations 2009 to 2012, and then the rounds since 2014 and so on like that. This was when my wife Elaine and I took sort of a random assortment of the students to the mountains, and there they are whitewater rafting during that. So yeah, so Lakini is there, and a cell. Yeah, anyway, it was a very fun trip. So other things here, Yeats quote, hand colored in Ireland. Think where man's glory most begins and ends, and say my glory was I had such friends. Anyway, that sort of appealed to me. Then up here, here's to strong women. May we know them, may we be them, may we raise them. Yeah. So that chair is something Paula Blanco gave us. Yeah, and that art piece there came from Somalia. And there was a wedding there on the river, and the boat capsized. So the person who gave it to me died in that unfortunate accident. Okay. So I should probably explain the circumstances. So this is a Saturday night of a weekend. Now on the weekend, as is our custom, we have the green screen behind my workstation, so we get good virtual backgrounds. So in order to do that, we put up 2 privacy screens like you see here, put the green screen on the other side of them. And it's very, very hard then to get between that side of the room and this. It's really only practical when I'm the only person here. So we set the room up that way only on Friday for the nephropathology rounds, and then on the weekend. And then during other parts of the week, the privacy screens are folded up and the green screen isn't there so that more people can be accommodated in the room. And we've got this futuristic art here. This is called Self-Help. See a robot fixing itself. And then this one here is called The Moment of Connection. And then beside that is a poster that Ashita and I did with Alex Lupi. Yeah, so now I should begin talking about where things will go. Let's just finish showing you what's here. So this corner workstation, like if you think of this location in general, this is where Tori Sheldon originally was back in 1997. So there's a lot of rich history, and Tori probably used that phone that you see there. We don't use it. It has its own phone line, but we don't really use that phone now. But at one time it was quite actively used. It's also where Paula Blanco sat, and Asal, and many other of our fellows have had this corner workstation. Okay, and then this is stuff associated with my career, my medical diploma, and Alpha, Omega, Alpha, and various other things having to do with the International Society of Nephrology. Was chair of the Commission on Acute Renal Failure from 1989 to 1997. Yeah, and then over here is the Singularity University class picture. As has been pointed out, I always sort of stick out in these pictures because I'm quite different from the other people there. I was the only academic in that class. Then this is the mentoring award that I got in 2016, and then these are the pictures that I purchased on the weekend of the first Banff meeting in 1991. Humphrey Bogart and Albert Einstein. Pretty Cutty Cat worked at this workstation for quite a while. She probably worked for me, with me longer here than any other student, and came to have quite unique skills, and so this is where she did a lot of valuable things for us. So I was there as the official history of the University of Alberta, and quite interesting. This is my college diploma. Yeah, anyway, so that's the things that are here. So as of September 1st, I'm moving to what was Dr. Rayner's office, and some of this stuff is moving there with me, and then other things will go to the 4-car garage at my new home, which is just on the edge of campus. It's really quite accessible from the University of Alberta campus. And it's where we shoot the videos. So the green screen videos are all shot in that 4-car garage, and it's quite a useful space for us. So what's going to go there? Well, the Betty Boop stuff and the Beatles stuff will end up there, as well as some things. So yeah, so this Edmonton Journal article on the Technology and Future of Medicine course and this cabinet will go to my office up here that was Dr. Rayner's office before his retirement. Okay, so if we now okay, so see, there are more Betty Boops over there. Those will all go to the 4-car garage. Most of the rest of the stuff you see on those shelves and the paper documents, cartoons below will go to my new office here, Dr. Rayner's former office. Yeah. So I think now I'm just going to go over there. Okay, so this is sort of our pandemic artwork. I got it this year, and I was quite impressed that it represents a world that really can no longer exist. Closely packed people in a nightclub with a DJ. And it has a kind of appropriate name. It's called Killer Vinyl. It's by a famous artist who has initials HR-FM. And you know there's a famous tech person, FM 2030. So I don't think that there's any relation except that both of these individuals have FM in their name. Then over here, if you look at the video that Ishita and I did about this room in 2018, we talk about this book of speaking Klingon that has buttons where you can make the book speak. And you can just begin to see the edge of that silk artwork. It was actually made in China. I visited Shanghai and other cities in China, and they wanted to make me a silk artwork, so I sent them the image of the Trans-Canada Pipeline Pavilion where we had the first Banff meeting, and they made a silk artwork of that. Then behind here is this Star Trek mini tree. It's kind of a bidding war between me and the owner of the building that the old Strathcona Antique Mall is in. And I felt quite frightened about the outcome of that, but when that person found out it was me he was bidding against, he just stopped bidding, so that meant that I was able to get this really quite inexpensively. But it's pretty fragile, and that's why we don't put the tree away during non-Christmas time. You may wonder whether young people today know about Pink Panther, but they do, of course, because they're retro cartoon programs, and Pink Panther is quite big on those retro cartoon programs. So most young people today do know who Pink Panther is. Yeah, okay. So now further things over here. Okay, some more Betty Boop things. And that Beatles picture there in the upper right corner over there. That's for the mentoring award. The 4 renal pathologists at that time took the same poses as the Beatles are in that picture for the profile picture for that video. So you can see us pretending to be the Fab Four in the profile picture for the mentoring award video. Okay, then there's lots of Brito art. We're quite into Brito art, and so there's a lot of it here. He was the official artist for the Brazil games, yeah. And so then these are some of the cartoons and other documents and things. This is my microscope, and it is supported by microscope stand that Preeti Cuddicat put together from pictures selected by the students. So I feel that the students and I represent a kind of unusual intellectual ferment, and that was what intrigued me about this group of statues that looked like was a similar sort of intellectual ferment going on there. So Desmond Clancy at the Extreme Futures Fest in 2011 did this picture of me. And I quite liked it. I made grand plans for a collaboration with him where we get a lot of other pencil sketches, but that didn't actually happen. So the Simpsons stuff will remain here and go to my other office, and is also on the buddy bench outside in the hallway. Lakini Bat spent time in Botswana, so that's what this is about. So one of the purposes of the video is if you want more details about any of these things. So this action figure here, this cat, is signaling more and more and more people. So that's what that symbol means, more people, more people. Okay, so these are the Heptonstall textbooks. And then Ernest Fink's thesis. He came to visit me in Baltimore. He did some of the earliest work on the pathology of acute tubular injury, and his visit was really the first time I hosted a famous senior person. I was very junior at the time, and so anyway, it's kind of cool that he gave me his original thesis. So these are pictures of my parents, and so there's, of course, Leonard Cohen stuff here as well. This is the Book of Mercy that Leonard Cohen gave me when I visited him over a 3-day weekend in 2005, and calls me Great Master of the Surreal. You can judge for yourself whether you think that's an apt description of me. This is the original Sony Aibo robotic dog we had, and this was the sign we kept on the carrying case for it. Originally, these are quotes from Leonard Cohen about what it's like to be 80 years old. At age 80, are there things you can't do that you used to be able to? And Leonard says, there are a lot of things that you can do at 80 that you couldn't do when you were younger. You depend on a certain resilience that is not yours to command, but which is present. And if you can sense this resilience, or sense this capacity to continue, it means a lot more at this age than it did when I was 30, when I took it for granted. So that's probably a surprising answer to the question of whether there are things you can't do when you are 80. And then there's Oliver Wendell Holmes' radio address on his 90th birthday. What he says here, the riders in a race do not stop short when they reach the goal. There's a little finishing canter before coming to a standstill. There is time to hear the kind voices of friends and to say to oneself, the work is done. But just as one says that, the answer comes, the race is over, but the work never is done while the power to work remains. The canter that brings you to a standstill need only be coming to rest. It cannot be while you still live. For to live is to function. That is all there is to living. So, you may not necessarily agree with that, but it's an interesting quote. Anyway, all right. And up here are lots of cool cards that I've got from people over the years, including Claudia Nowak's Genius Hero Legend Iron Man card that started us on a lot of Iron Man theming here. You can see this other Iron Man here. And then here is a picture of what Rudolf Virchow looked like when he was 80. He had a great 80th birthday. So I think I'll end this here, and you can let me know if you would like more details on some of these things, and then we can actually add that detail, and then you'll have it. So are we a user-friendly entity or not, eh? Yeah, so that's the Kidney International issue that had my first important paper, the one about the Solezocytes, nucleated cells in the vasa recta in acute tubular injury, and producing that in animal models. This is my first book, the one there with the red cover. Yeah, anyway, so that's what is here. And this will then be incorporated in a green screen video, and so you'll get this there. Let me know if you have any questions. Thanks. Okay, so now you've seen the other video segments showing what we're doing with the room and where things are going. We hope you've enjoyed this. I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have. And if you think of kind of natural evolution of human beings and so on, I think this is a good thing. I think you will think so too. And when you watch how we function from September 1st on, I think, if anything, we'll be more productive in those new locations than we are in this room right now today. The COVID pandemic was not ideal for a room like this where you're housing a large number of people in one office. We've had as many as 7 trainees plus me in this office at some points in the past. And obviously that would be highly dangerous to do during the COVID pandemic. So really, there are a lot of reasons for us to make the move. But one of the most obvious ones is that packing people so closely together, as we've often done in this room in the past, and you've seen many pictures of this, of large numbers of students here with me, and that's just not going to be feasible for the next few years. So anyway, I hope you've enjoyed the video and be happy to answer any questions you may have about it. Thank you very much.